I had an operations manager phone to ask me once, like this was just when the e-logs came in, he noticed that my truck had stopped. When he asked me what I was doing, I told him I had to stop because I had to go to the bathroom, and he said, "What, you can't shit in a bag?"
Hey guys, Ronan here. A really interesting video today talking about what drivers are forced into by their carriers. So have you ever been asked to do something illegal? I'm sure that's obviously yes. Have you ever been asked to drive while you're out of hours? Only you can answer that. Have you ever been asked to drive with defective equipment? Now, what do you do in these situations? So in today's video, we're gonna be taking 4 of our drivers. We're gonna talk about some of the things that they've been asked to do by their previous employers. And at the end of this video, stay tuned because I'm gonna tell you how to deal with these companies. What are you gonna do in order for them not to put you in this situation again? Or at least you can limit your chances that they're gonna ask you to do these things again. We're gonna recommend to drivers out there what to do when you're faced into this situation, or when a dispatcher is forcing you, or a company that you're with is forcing you to do something that is just not right. One thing you need to keep at your forefront is that your driver's license is your driver's license. Whatever you do on the road, you get dinged for it. You need to understand that it's your CVR, it's your driving record, it's your insurance that's gonna get affected, and it's you finding another job. You're really putting that at risk. By doing these things, or by carriers, bad carriers, pushing you to do things that are wrong, you're really just jeopardizing yourself and your family. So now let's get to it. We'll talk to our drivers, and don't forget to stay to the end because I'm gonna tell you what to do in these situations so you'll never be put into them again. Hey guys, Ronan here. I wanted to personally thank you for watching this video. ET Transport is currently in need to fill 3 positions: a driver manager position, an equipment manager position, and a daytime dispatcher. If you think you have what it takes to work here at ET Transport, please feel free to submit your resume. If you know somebody that would be a good fit for any one of these roles, please have them submit the resume to recruiting@ettransport.ca. Again, all 3 positions are for our Concord, Ontario terminal. Please subscribe to our channel. And if you're enjoying the video you're watching, give it a thumbs up. And now, back to the video.
The worst thing a carrier has ever asked me to do was to actually smuggle somebody out of New York State, bring them across the border into Canada, and deliver them into Montreal. I was offered, money and favors. I didn't do it. I'm not about to put my CVR and my driver's license, and I'm not about to take a criminal charge for that. But that's probably the most despicable thing I've been asked by a carrier to do. We've all, at some point or another, we've pulled equipment that we knew shouldn't have been on the road, or a truck that was crap. Back in the day when we were running paper, the dispatcher knows that, we got paper logbooks. You're out of hours, but it's only another, 200 miles, so, get on it. You got to do it. We've all had that. But the worst thing I've ever been asked to do was to smuggle a person across the border.
The worst thing a carrier has done to me is make me run 36 hours straight. They told me to go deliver early. The customer told me it wasn't till midnight. And then they're like, "Oh, well, stick around there. We'll get it fixed." I ended up getting delivered, and they're like, "Oh, we need you in another state for 7 o'clock in the morning." So I had to end up driving all night, get reloaded, and continue on. So that's the worst thing that they've done. It's a 36-hour stint. We had enough other drivers that I didn't have to do it, but yet they still made me do it. And yes, I get it. I could have turned it down, but unfortunately, there's a personification with the trucking industry that when you're a new driver to a company, you don't want to say no because you don't want to lose your job. And that was the kind of point I was in. I was new to the company, and so I just did what they said.
Some carriers deceive drivers. In my own case, the first place I worked, they used to praise me as a driver, that you are number 1. But I never knew until after some months that they used to give me loads which other drivers refused to take because they are bad and dangerous places to go to in worst weather conditions. Well, they were endangering my life, and naively I was playing their game. This I don't like. I used to go to the northern part of Canada. They are beautiful places, but during the winter, they're dangerous places. In the night, during the winter, and mostly without any driving experience. Those things should go to drivers with proper training and experience to deal with, not to rookies like me by then. You need the experience, you need the money, you have to put food on the table, and your life is at risk. Well, after some years, you get to know this and you change things for better. You can choose to remain with the company or you can change company as I did.
So my worst experience with a carrier was when I had a trailer with me that I was traveling to Louisiana with, and I had a delivery in New Orleans. In Memphis, I broke down with that trailer, and it so happened that that trailer actually had gasoline in the tank. And tractor trailers, we only use diesel. With that being said, it cost me a 7-hour downtime. It ate through all of my available log, so my log was finished. The company still had me drive after that, illegal, for 4 hours. When the sun was coming up, because I drove throughout the entire night, I was getting tired, fatigued, and I was falling asleep. And I told them, sorry, I cannot drive anymore. I'm gonna stop. Unfortunately, I was only an hour and a half away from the delivery, but again, my life and no one else's life was worth it, so I didn't. And they threatened to take $1,000 out of my paycheck if I didn't get their load there on time. Because of that, I actually wrote a letter of resignation. I ended up going back to the company within a few days, but I got a raise, so.
Second most despicable thing that I've had happen, or that a carrier has asked of me or asked, when e-logs first came in and they could start tracking our trucks, they could see where we were, when the truck was moving or when it was parked. And my truck was parked, and it wasn't even a dispatcher, it was an operations manager. He phoned me and asked me, he says, why is your truck not working? Or why are you not rolling? I simply said, well, I had to stop, I had to go to the bathroom. And without missing a beat, and he was sincere about this, he's like, what, you can't in a bag? And that blew my mind. That's pretty, you expect me to, when you're done at your desk and you need to go to the bathroom, you get up, you go to your bathroom, you come back, you sit at your desk and finish your job. What, because I'm in a truck, I'm expected to, in a bag? I was pretty despicable. I was pretty unhappy with that.
All right, so what do you do in this situation? You heard some of our drivers talking about what they've been forced into doing in their previous jobs. So when you are forced to do any of these things, you need to send a recap email. So if you're forced to drive with defective equipment, you need to send an email to repairs, to whoever the HR, somebody in your company, to your dispatcher, recapping an email that you're not comfortable driving with defective equipment. So if you were forced by your dispatcher to do something that you don't feel comfortable doing because it's illegal, like driving with defective equipment or driving while you're out of hours, you need to send your dispatch and whoever the admins are in that office, you need to send them a recap email, because that's what's going to save your butt at the end of the day. You also need to take into consideration that if you're gonna be driving with defective equipment, and if you're gonna be driving with out of hours and something happens on the road, you will be held liable for anything that happens on the road. Now, I think we've all heard of these nightmare stories with drivers driving out of hours or with defective equipment, and then they get sentenced to prison for a few years. There was a few of them, one with the gravel truck sentenced to 6 months in jail, the driver that was sentenced to 8 years in prison, the truck driver that crashed into the Broncos bus. So you need to understand that you will be held liable, okay, for driving with defective equipment or driving under the influence or whatever it is that you're gonna do on the road, okay, you're gonna be held liable for that, and you can be sentenced. This job does not pay well enough for you to be sentenced for X amount of time in prison because your boss is forcing you to do something that you shouldn't be doing. You might get away with it once, you might get away with it twice. Do not get into the habit of driving with defective equipment or driving when you're out of hours. You also need to understand that there are lots of companies out there that are willing to hire you. You do not need to put up with these things. If your dispatcher or if the company that you work for is forcing you to drive with defective equipment, find another job. It's not so hard. There are hundreds of companies out there looking for good drivers. So after you send that recap email, wait for them to respond. Do not allow them to pressure you to doing something. If they're going to threaten you with withholding your pay, I can assure you that it's not worth it. Be in a situation where you might end up going to prison for something that you did illegally. Yes, they're going to come after the company also, but you're the one that's going to be liable for anything that happens on the road. So number one, documentation is very important. And number two, you, if they ever ask you at your new position, you know, what was the reason that you left this job, or what was the reason that they are saying bad things about you in the reference. We get drivers all the time where the previous employer is telling us that not to hire them because they're not good. And then we ask the driver, hey, you know, why are they saying this about you? Or why are they saying that they wouldn't hire you back? And then when you pull up that recap email saying, hey, the reason I'm leaving is because I don't feel comfortable doing A, B, C, and D, me as a recruiter, I feel a lot more comfortable hiring you because I want to hire a driver who's going to say no. Okay, sometimes management doesn't know what dispatchers are doing. If you bring it to our attention, we can do something about it. So either the whole company is not good, or it's just your dispatchers trying to push you. When you send that recap email, send it to your managers also, not just your dispatchers, but to safety, HR, okay? Letting them know what the situation is and that you don't feel comfortable doing these things. Well, I hope you learned something from this video, and don't get pushed into doing things that you don't feel comfortable doing. I'm Ronan, and I'll catch you in the next one.